Happy Sunday, everybody. It's time for another edition of your Hog Hoops Report with the one and only Kevin McPherson. I'm Courtney Mims. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. Kevin, we got to talk first about Arkansas's loss to Baylor. I know it was a loss, and nobody should be happy about a loss, but you got to look at how Arkansas played against the number 17 team in the nation. So much effort, so much fight. What did you see from the game?
Well, I have to agree with you. Look, no one likes moral victories, but this was the number two rated offense in the country. Arkansas holds Baylor to 33.9% field goal shooting, 6 of 18 from three. So this is a team that makes nearly 10 threes a game and gets up over, around 24. So Arkansas really kind of held down the attempts, run them off that three line, and kept their makes down considerably, almost cut it in half. And so when you look at that, and then the overall field goal percentage, like I said, around 34%, defensively, that's what Baylor hangs its hat on. This is not a great defensive team. It's a great offensive team playing on its home court. And by the way, Courtney, in front of the second largest crowd ever at that facility
Yeah.
that was announced. So this was a big game. SEC Big 12 Challenge. That's the last. They're going away. All right, this is it. Arkansas finishes 4-5 all time, always won at home, always lost on the road. So the Baylor game was one that Arkansas had a chance to grab. But I think the effort was obviously there when you look at those defensive statistics and the effectiveness. I think this became another game. We've seen this movie before. Get your popcorn and get ready for your fifth viewing, recent viewing of Arkansas's turnover issues. Plus, what I think is even bigger than that, I whined about it last night on my Hogville Net YouTube Live, but it's the free throw disparities, and they're pretty huge in these last four losses. Alabama, Vandy, Missouri, and now Baylor. Pretty even through the first half. And then all of a sudden, Arkansas is the only team that fouls in these second
Yeah.
halves. So last night, they were minus 11 in free throw attempts in the second half, minus two in the first half. You can live with that. We know Eric Musselman picked up a tee on a 5-point play. Arkansas responded after that and outscored Baylor 11-0 to take that 6-point lead into halftime. So there's a lot of positives. I went through some of them. I did throw in the negatives of the turnover issues. Arkansas was -7 there, -5 in points off turnovers. Baylor was a little bit better in transition after Arkansas had such a good game in transition against LSU. Baylor +5 in that department. Arkansas was +12 in the paint. Here's a team that attacks the rim and
Yes.
the paint, the rim. They don't settle for a lot of threes. Only 14 attempts yesterday, but they can't get to the free throw line. Only 11 free throw attempts compared to Baylor's 24. And Arkansas had 16 assists while shooting nearly 51% from the field. So even offensively, this was a pretty good game for Arkansas, except for turnovers. But they can't get whistles, especially in second halves. It just dries up. Arkansas didn't get. Baylor was in the 1-and-1 on free throws after Arkansas picked up its seventh team foul 5 minutes into the second half. That can be a death knell on the road. In this case, it was. Arkansas didn't shoot free throws until under a minute in the second
Yeah.
half.
It was
Didn't get the 1-and-1 until the 2 seconds remained when Baylor didn't want Arkansas to get a 3-point shot up. So even so, having said all that, Pinion gets a clear shot, uncontested shot from the corner. He was probably shifted a little bit further right for where he caught that ball with time running out. So he didn't have a straight line look. He has a little bit of an angle at the
It's a
very edge
tough
of that
shot.
corner.
It's a tough
That's a
shot to
tough
make.
shot. I can make them in my sleep, but I'm an older. No, I can't. I can't make one.
Hey, I cannot make
I have
that
a
shot
better chance of
ever.
hunting the ball up there than actually I don't trust my release. But this was, and I don't hang that on Pinion. I mean, he was the guy that took the shot, but he comes in cold. He's not been a factor in this game in terms of a role and getting his blood pumping playing.
Yeah.
So that's a tough spot to be in. I think it's cool that Arkansas has a play that worked.
It
That
really
was a play
did.
to, well, because you have to know where the player's running to, which side, which corner, because that's the easiest way to spray the ball.
Yeah.
And you hope a defender doesn't deflect it a different way or something. So a
No,
lot
it
of
was
things have to work.
perfect.
So
It was tipped perfectly. It was executed. Besides the shot not going in, everything else was done quite perfectly. And I think you gotta, if you're Eric Musselman, you gotta be proud of your team for writing that play up and then see it being executed correctly.
yeah, there's no doubt about it. Look, this was a very good offensive rebounding team too. Baylor did have an edge there. Did have an edge on second chance points, which come off those offensive rebounds. But Arkansas overall, both teams had 35 rebounds. There's a lot of things to take away from this and say Arkansas. I thought Arkansas to me looked like the better team. Mistakes and fouls. And that's been I say we've seen the movie before. How did the Missouri game end? The same way. That team lived at the free throw line. Arkansas had a 10-point lead under 5 minutes to play. Arkansas had an 8-point lead in the second half here early, fell behind by 6, came right back and got it with one a couple of times very late, under a half a minute, but just could never get over the hump. And again, we know really what it all boils down to. We can talk about turnovers, rebounds, points in the paint. Arkansas has its share of wins there. At the end of the day, the free throw disparities have been unbelievable. I go back to those 4 losses: Alabama, Vanderbilt on the road, Missouri on the road, and this Baylor game on the road. Arkansas double digit in free throws attempted, double digit deficits in just the one half of basketball. It's hard to have that result in a full 40-minute game. And in the
Yeah.
second half, they're getting blown out. And so I think this is a team that does foul. Arkansas has fouling problems. But the way that it plays offensively, I'll give you an example. Golden State Warriors in the NBA, they have the largest free throw disparity in the league in terms of not getting as many as their opponents. And so they're last in the league in free throw attempts relative to its opposition. But Golden State's a finesse team. They have one big that they play with. They spread everybody out. It's 5 out. They open up all the lanes. There's not as much contact, and they're not as physical. So I can understand that. I can translate that to the math. Arkansas plays the opposite in the college game. It doesn't take a lot of threes. It's got big bodies, big athletic bodies that attack the basket and paint. Arkansas shoots 51% from the field yesterday, doing what it does well. And so we know as the traffic gets tighter and these teams are laying off Arkansas, playing them for drives, there's a lot of bodies banging in. How Arkansas
Yeah.
doesn't get to the free throw line of these games, and teams that don't quite play the way Arkansas does seem to live there. It's just interesting to me. I'm not trying to say there's anything nefarious going on. I find it
Yeah.
bizarre. Anyway,
Yeah.
I've gone on and on about that. I think it's interesting. But look, here's the result. Arkansas had won 2 games in a row. We didn't even talk about the midweek game. LSU, big
No,
win at home,
that was a big
20-point
win.
win. Arkansas hadn't won by 20 plus since the last game in non-conference against North Carolina, Asheville. And that was back-to-back wins after going 5 out of 6 to start league play. So now
Yeah.
you lose this one, but here's the good news, Courtney. You come back home, you get to fix things against Texas A&M.
You do.
Tuesday night, it can be a 3-game winning streak in SEC play. And then you turn the page to the second half of league play, only 1 game out of 500 going into the second half. And then there's still the Nick Smith Jr. Possibility of getting him back
Yeah.
sometime in February. We could really help Arkansas. But I think Arkansas can start winning some games now, even without Nick Smith Jr. to this point.
Yeah, I think so as well. And you just said it. You got to kind of shake this one off a little bit. You played well. Now you have to go and face a tough Texas A&M team on Tuesday night. Quick turnaround, but at least this one is back at home. And I think they always tend to do better when it's back at Bud Walton Arena, having those fans around them. But really quickly, Kevin, we got to move on because we have other things to talk about, like some Arkansas recruiting news in terms of Bay Fall getting named a McDonald's All-American this week. But, a lot of people on social media were happy for him, but not so happy that Layden Blocker was left off that list. Can you kind of talk about that a bit?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate Arkansas social media on that call. A lot of times they're all over the map and they don't necessarily get things right. They have a right to be upset about Layden Blocker, but let's focus on the positive and what did happen right. Bay Fall, top 20, top 15, top 20 national prospect in 2023 class, a 5-star. And obviously I didn't have any concerns about him making the game. But here's a guy that at 6'11", Ford Center, there's some versatility in him defensively because of his quickness and actual end-to-end speed for a taller guy and all that length. He's got speed and quickness. He's agile. He's explosive, so he can be very versatile defensively. He's mostly around the basket kind of player offensively, although he can stretch it a little bit. He can step out and knock down a shot, but he's more comfortable. But he's got some nice moves around the basket, good footwork. So here's a guy that, is going to be interesting to as he finishes up his senior year, projecting next year, helping Arkansas on that front line. But we get to see it, a little glimpse of that against some of the best players in the country in the McDonald's All-American game. It's March 28th. It's in Houston, Texas. We know it's 12 players for the East, 12 players for the West. And how they forgot Layden Blocker, Courtney. It's not a question of should we riot, is when do we gather and riot?
Yes, come on, we're doing it.
Right. Now, look, I mean, it's going to sound homer, but here's a guy that And here's the thing: there's multiple national rankings. The big three are ESPN, 247 Sports, and Rivals. Okay, Rivals just last week moved Blocker up 8 spots from 29 to 21. So a top 25 player there. ESPN had Blocker at 21, and they just days before they announced the team, the McDonald's announcement came out. ESPN dropped him down from 21 to 26. Well, there's 24 players selected. Not all of the top 24 exactly get selected. One example is a young man that plays at overtime elite. He's not eligible. He's ranked in the
Okay.
top 12, top 11. So there's one. So it's not always pristine, but once you move outside that top 25, especially in ESPN's rankings, which seem to be the closest, more closely tied to how the McDonald's selections are made, then you got to be a little bit concerned. And I was. And, I think there's 2 or 3 players that made this field that I've seen play. I've seen match up with Blocker in different scenarios, some of them, but several that I've seen play over and over again in person, going back to spring and summers in the past. There's 2 or 3 guys, in my opinion, that are going to play in this game that he runs circles around and has.
Yeah.
They're matched up. So, sour grapes out the window now.
Yeah, he got snubbed.
We've
Come
already
on, we can
declared
say
a
it.
riot's on the way. So we'll save all our energy and passion for that.
We can say it. He got snubbed. Come on, Kevin. We can say it. He
It
definitely
was an
got snubbed.
egregious, I'm going to call it an egregious snub.
There you
I
go.
did before we went on. I'm going to say that again.
Okay, well, I love it. We're calling them out
My
really quickly.
phraseology of choice today.
It was a choice. We woke up and we chose violence today, Kevin. Really quickly before
Yes,
we
that's
go,
it.
someone else who woke up and chose a bit of violence, Patrick Beverly. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the video of him grabbing the camera and showing the
Yeah.
ref that it was a foul and him getting teed up. Can you talk about that moment a little bit for
Yeah.
everybody and what you thought of it?
Patrick Beverly is one of those characters in sports that that continually reinvents the way he's going to shock and awe. And that was one of them. The ref wasted no time teeing him up. I mean, there was no deliberation on that one. He got
No.
a tee immediately. That's how you start your extra period. And, but the truth is, LBJ, LeBron James, did get fouled on that final play. Just like in any sport, refs typically, you get mad if they blow a whistle at the end of a game and then you blame them for deciding the outcome. But then if it's a foul at any other point in the game, then you should call it, even if there's a second left. If it's a foul, it's a foul. Blow the whistle. He got fouled. Otherwise, he might score and that game's over if they don't foul him. So he should have gotten free throws. So that's how it is in sports and in basketball. But Patrick Beverly, we talk about pro hogs. We don't talk about him enough. He actually had a good game. That's a classic. I mean, it went to overtime, and because of those shenanigans, that helped us make that game a classic and one that'll be talked about at least through the rest of today,
Oh,
and
for
maybe
sure.
some more. Yeah, it'll be a talking point on all the shows during the week, or at least early in the week. But look at the Pro Hogs. Look, Daniel Gafford last night, the Washington Wizards. He's been in the
Yeah.
starting lineup for a while. They go on the road. New Orleans Pelicans. That's a solid team out in that Western Conference. Wizards have been on a bit of a roll. Their other big man that's been an all-star, Kristaps Porzingis, is out of the lineup with an injury. So Gafford's kind of holding things down in there. 21 points, season high, 8 of 11 from the field, matched his career high in rebounds with 12. So he had a big double-double, his 5th of the season. 5 big blocks. I mean, these things are nasty erasers. They're not
Ooh.
calm, friendly little reminders that I'm here in the paint. He sends a message. His nickname's the landlord. And I mean, he's been setting those eviction notices out. But he also had a couple of assists, a steal. So his box score was +6 and a 10-point win. So, 29 minutes, that's very efficient work. He's one of the top field goal percentage guys wise in the league, top 3 or 4 coming into this. But it was a big game for Gafford. Bobby Portis had a double-double to start the week and was injured in that game and is out for a little bit. It's an MCL strain.
Ooh.
He may be out. He'll be out at least 2 weeks, maybe more. But Portis has been so reliable this year with other guys. Bucks have barely been healthy. They
Yeah.
were healthy for that one game until he got hurt in it. It was late. He comes out and didn't come back in. So he'll be out a while, but he did have his 29th double-double, which at the time ranked 3rd in the NBA after this week's games played out. Now he's in 4th, but he's still one of the leaders, and he's the only reserve out of the 11 NBA players that average a double-double, Courtney, in
Nice.
points and rebounds, 14 and 10.
Nice.
Jalen Williams was back in the starting lineup for Oklahoma City the other night. Of course, Isaiah Joe, their teammates there, the
Of
former
course.
Hogs, and Fort Smith Northside. Those guys played together at Fort Smith
I love
Northside.
that.
Isn't that great? And they were
I love
Hogs, not
that.
at the same time, but they were Hogs. And then because Joe's a couple of years older. But look, they picked up a win the other night. Williams was back in the starting lineup with 2 of 2 from three,
Gotta love
six
it.
rebounds. I think he only played 19 minutes. So he is a volume rebounder, has been at every stage of his career. And I think he's going to be a wonderful pro. And this has been a breakout year, too, by the way, for Isaiah Joe. We know that. We talk about it a lot. But yeah, circling it back around to Patrick Beverly. What a character, man. If you know,
It was truly the funniest thing I saw on social media this morning and last night as well. I love it. I love that the video keeps going around. People are memeing it. It's great. If you haven't seen it yet, you can go to my social media. I did retweet it, so you could see it there at Mims Courtney on Twitter. But that's all the time we have on this week's Hog Hoops Report. Thanks so much, Kevin, for joining us, and we'll see you next Sunday for another report.
good to be with you, Courtney. Thank you.